How are you, sir?
And greetings from the dark side. You guys did it better.
Oh, please have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
So good to have you here.
It's very good to be here. It's a nice color.
Is it? Yeah, you like it.
It doesn't swivel.
It doesn't. No. Gosh, we thought we got everything. That would have been a good reveal for you. So welcome. You just got in, didn't you?
I did, yes. Last evening we flew in from London. 11 hours flight, but not bumpy. I guess that's because I was on board and they didn't dare.
No, why would they? And here is a little different than the last time we met and did this in Orlando because it's not 1,000,000 degrees out.
That's true.
Which is nice.
Yes,
So that's very pleasant.
this is a very interesting yeah.
But so you're back, and we're gonna be all around. We're gonna be seeing you throughout the celebration here.
Yes, I'm in the hall, and tomorrow evening is a very interesting evening for me because the guys asked me to come and introduce the 3D version of episode 3.
Yes.
As you know, the Star Wars universe is expanding all the time. And so I confidently hope I'll be invited back to introduce episodes 4, 5, and 6 in 4D, and 5D, and 6D, and of course 7, 8, and 9 in 7D, 8D, and 9D, because the Star Wars universe in space and time is ever expanding.
It's indeed. And that is on the digital stage. How many have been to the digital stage yet with David Collins as your host? An amazing stage, an amazing picture. And it's going to be fantastic, so that's great. Everybody check your apps, the Celebration app, to find out when that is happening and see the Emperor there as well. But, you know, you are really what we like to call here the Grand Mac Daddy of the dark side. How's that? Does that sit well with you? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's okay.
And you've been doing more of these conventions here. Again, you were with us at Celebration 6.
Yeah.
And you will be joining me, actually, in Florida, back in Florida.
I will, I'm looking forward to that.
For Star Wars weekends. Anybody going to that? Yep. Week 1. And so that will be a lot of fun. But, you know, I got a question. Do you enjoy this? I mean, this is kind of a whole new experience for you. Stage actor, very respected actor, and then you come out into this area which, it's different, right? It's a different world.
It is different, but it's not so different from what I do most of the time, which is performing to a live audience, but not as my 3D self. You know, as some other characters, sometimes by Shakespeare, sometimes contemporary people. So it's not all that unusual.
Right.
But, did I do that?
I mean, having a little technical difficulty there, yes, but we'll see.
But, no, it's interesting, because it's very nice, well, to meet you, because I'm not behind the hood all the time, am I?
No, behind the hood. And I think we're probably going to get you a handheld mic to replace that one, because one might have gone to the dark side. See the power that this man holds. It is amazing. Let's hear for Lindsay as she brings out the microphone. Yeah, be careful.
I love the way you did that.
Yes, very good, very good. Very
Seamless is the word, I think.
So, is that all right? Are you okay with that
that's
for now?
fine.
Okay,
That's
sorry about that. But I've got to ask you, is there kind of a secret fanboy in you that really gets into all this? Like, is there anything, you know, do you get to walk the floor at some point and see some stuff and go, ooh, I might want one of those?
What, here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit predictable, but I know you're going to get to this a bit later, but these sort of Shakespeare Star Wars books that are coming out are completely fascinating and very cleverly constructed, you know, and written in verse, which oddly enough I never got a chance to do when George wrote the script. He did his best. He tried very hard. But he would be the first to say that Shakespeare was a little better.
Yeah, just a smidge. Do you have a favorite to perform in Shakespeare? What's a favorite play?
Most recently I did in London at the theatre that I used to run with another guy called the Almeida Theatre. I played Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. And that's a tricky play. And he's an interesting character because he doesn't behave very well. I mean, like the Emperor, he wants to kill one person in particular. But you sort of understand why he does it, that he's had a tough life and been ill-treated by most of Christian society. So there's a sort of motive for him to behave inexcusably. Whereas the Emperor, you know, has no motive at all. He's just solid evil. He just can't wait to destroy people.
wow. But speaking of that, can we take it way back to when you were just a young Sith?
Okay.
Just way, well, actually, I don't know. Do you see?
Oh, I see.
See what we did?
That really is scary. Yeah.
I don't know if we actually want to go that far back.
It's the red I don't like.
But actually, not that far back, but we've talked about this before, but it's a great story. If I say great nose to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first day. That's when it all happened, James, as I know you know, and some of you might know. But it was, I was at home thinking, what's next? While I was in a play at a small theatre in London called the Royal Court Theatre upstairs. And I was playing, of all people, someone you'll all know very well, part of your culture, a sort of Sam Shepard's creation of Howard Hughes called Henry Hackamore. And I was very old with very straggly hair in the part, and very long fingernails, and I looked as if I was at death's door, frankly. And that only took about 5 minutes of makeup. And I was, and this of course is what thrilled the casting director. Little did I know it was going to take a little longer later. But she came along and saw me in that, and there was an actor already cast as the Emperor, and unfortunately he couldn't take the contact lenses, which were fairly fierce. So they were looking for someone else. And Mary Selway, for it was she, great casting director, had suggested to George and Richard Marquand, the directors you know, that maybe they should see me. So I got this telephone call one lunchtime from my agent saying that George Lucas would like to see me. Well, just as I was sort of gasping, and picking my jaw back up and trying to reset my face, there was a car outside, and they'd already arrived. So I got in it. I went to the studios. I met George and Richard over lunchtime. 10 minutes it was. They were already shooting, of course, the other scenes. And I don't know what we talked about, but it was pleasant, but it wasn't about the part. I wasn't asked to read, I wasn't asked to do anything on film. I thought, oh, well, I've met him, it's great. And as I was going out the door, he went, great to meet you, Ian. Great nose.
That was very good.
So I thought, well, that's very nice. The man likes my nose. I can tell people that George Lucas complimented my nose, so I'll settle for that. So I went back, and the phone was ringing again as I walked through the door. This is perfectly true. And my agent said, he could hardly contain himself, "You've got the part." And I said, "Oh, great. What's the part?" And he went, "Oh, gosh, the questions you actors ask. George Lucas, give me a break." Anyway, he leafed through his notes, and he said, "He's called the Emperor of the Universe." So I said, "Oh, well, I guess we'll be doing it then." So that was the story of the nose, James.
That's the nose. Thank you for that nose story. Yes. But a stage actor by trade, does it differ when you get on the set and you're having to go back and forth? Is it a lot more waiting? It's just a different experience.
Yes, it is. It is completely different because you have to allow yourself to be filmed, to be photographed. And here on a stage like this, even with a microphone, you have to project the character and yourself. And also you're making connections with the audience that has arrived that night, that afternoon to see the show, and they'll always be different. So the connections will always be different. Whereas in the movie, you learn the lines, you turn up, and you try to have a situation which is entirely concentrated and also wholly relaxed, and it's almost impossible. Particularly when we did Secrets Now, episode 1, for example, because usually they're building the next set when you're on the present set. So you may hear the odd bump like we had a few minutes ago. Someone will drop a bit of scaffolding or something, and you stop and you start again, and it's fine. But this time they were building the studios, not just the sets. So around us all was sort of complete chaos. And the first assistant director said, "Whatever you do, don't stop." So we learned to do that. And then the great phrase, I'm sure it had been in the canon before, but it was certainly very present then, "We'll fix it in post," came out. So quite a lot of that particular film was fixed in post. And of course, those days it was quite usual, as it was in Return of the Jedi. I almost said Revenge of the Jedi. I saw some posters of that this morning, to my astonishment. Where it was accepted that most of your part was going to be revoiced because studio noise was so excessive, and the digital world wasn't advanced as it is now. So I revoiced the whole of my part in Return of the Jedi.
Really?
But wasn't expecting to do the same in Episode 1, Phantom Menace. But interesting enough, as the movies progressed, and in Episode 3, hardly any of it, I think, was revoiced. We had a couple of pickups, but the actual, what I did into the microphone on those days was what you heard.
And you had, I mean, there was a lot going on there. And I remember we've talked about the fans blowing. And
yeah.
your voice
Well, there was this is when you know you're in a movie, but sometimes when you think this is impossible, well, it's like the Star Wars universe, you know, all the jokes I made about 9D and 10D and everything. You think, well, you know, the great thing about George's quest to make those movies, his basis for it all has been nothing is impossible. And I think that's a terrific philosophy. We tried to follow that when we ran the theatre. But the most extraordinary thing about that day that you're referring to, yes, was sort of, yes, that scene was filmed that day. I had to do a number of complicated things in reverse order. First of all, I had to change into the horrible monster that became Sidious and then became the Emperor, and that involved a lot of makeup changes during the day. And then I had to fight Sam into the ground, you know, that was easy. It's particularly easy because Michael Byrne, my stunt double, did most of the work. Always anxious to pay tribute to him for saving my life. And it was occasionally his body, but always my head. So, you know how they do that.
Did you have to do anything different for that, for your head? Then did you have to go in and have them just photograph it from various angles and such? I know.
Yes, yeah. And the thing is, when the hair was going in, you may have a picture of that somewhere. To make that effect, it's all live, and there are 3 giant wind machines which were driven at me, and that was quite exciting. Until I got half the studio dust in my nose, and the other half in my eyes, and then it filtered its way down into my throat. Now that would have been all right, you know, a few glasses of water in the shower and you're fine. But then George said, we're going to do that scene in the opera at the end of the day. And the day in question was Friday, when everybody's, you know, especially in Australia, can't wait to get out and enjoy their weekend, their Saturdays and their Sundays. And also, there was a little gold gentleman opening champagne on a trolley just to one side because it was the first director's birthday. So, and in the Studio Village, which I'm sure you know about now, which is this area where many people, almost as many as I'm looking at tonight, no, not quite, sit and watch you on now the giant screen. So what you do is what they're actually seeing, not like in the old days when you could watch things on a tiny black and white monitor and you couldn't make any judgments until you saw the rushes. And the producer, and I always name him on this, Rick McCowan, mobile phone went off 3 times. So I had to sit on a chair, not unlike this, with Hayden sitting there, and nothing else really, blue screen of course. And George said, just relax, you're in a theatre. So actually that helped. And I said, what am I watching? Oh, questions. Anyway, I turned out to be watching, not an opera, but in fact a ballet, which later turned out to be a squid ballet.
And in fact, we do have that scene.
Do you really?
And with all this information now, you have, take that and go back.
Yes.
And take a look right here.
Okay.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
He could actually save people from death.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
What happened to him?
He became so powerful. The only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. It's ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
That was that Friday afternoon in 20 takes. And when I said to George, you won't be using any of that, because my voice, you know, had all that studio dust in my throat. And he said, no, your voice sounded great. It sounded like the character in transition.
Yes.
So, there you are.
It did.
And that's a happy accident. When I was pretty exhausted and I had a lot of dust, things like that can happen.
And you just got to watch it with Ian McDiarmid. Isn't that great? I love that. You get to sit there and watch it with him as he tells you stories. But you know what I've realized? You've come a long way, and it's probably tea time, isn't it? I don't think it's tea time for
Really?
you. Yeah, right now. So, is it time for tea?
Goodness gracious me.
Time for tea.
Good!
So,
How kind of nice.
wouldn't it be nice if we had a little tea?
I don't expect afternoon tea in America
No,
that
well,
often.
you know,
No.
we try something just to go.
Is it real? It is real.
It is real.
I thought it might have been stage tea.
Yes. You do that a
But they have
lot.
stage whiskey, but no. Oh, but stage tea usually is stage whiskey, if you know what I mean.
Do you take anything with your tea?
No, I don't. I just have it just like that.
All
Have
right.
you got some? Yeah?
So, yes.
No, we can have it with me.
Absolutely.
This is remarkably civilized.
This is
You know, sometimes it's difficult to believe that the dark side exists.
So, I thought we could talk about Star Wars and have a little tea.
Yes.
So tell me, when you're destroying the universe,
Yes.
blowing up Alderaan, you know, I also know something about you, that you kind of enjoy the prosthetic makeup and such, the process of that.
Yeah, and it was great watching the skill of the people who were involved. And first time round, it was Nick Dudman who went on to do many things, not least to design the whole makeup prosthetic department of Harry Potter. And in these days he was working for Stuart and Graham Freeborn, marvelous makeup artists. And to begin with, it took 4 hours, so I'd get up very early and arrive at the studio. And I'd remembered I'd seen that film about Joan Crawford, with Faye Dunaway, you know.
Mommy
And-
Danced.
Yes, that's right. And she apparently, the film said, I don't know if it was true, that she'd get up very early in the morning and open the ice box, take the ice out, and stick her head in the ice.
Yes.
Because that did great things to her skin. So I thought the most useful thing I could do was open the oven, stick my head in the oven, and that would do a lot for the emperor. But I didn't do that. You see, that's how undedicated I was. I was younger then, you know, I'm more serious about my work now. However, I went in and Nick said, the best thing you can do, Ian, is fall asleep. Well, I worked on that, you know, and then I got there. So this is a bit later, though. This is in Australia, I think. Yeah. And the two guys involved then had David Elsey. Yeah, you see the picture. I think that's David, yeah. And the thing I got on my head, you don't see me put it on, is a bit like a balaclava. So I would put it on like that, and then they'd paint and work around it, which meant they could do it much more quickly. I sort of preferred the old way because, vanity, I thought my neck was too thick as a result of this. But you know, he wasn't that old then.
No.
He was in transition.
And was this a really different process then from Return of the Jedi? Because it
Yeah.
did not appear to be the same type of.
That's right, and they were in several pieces in
Yeah.
Jedi, and this is all one. In Jedi, I had cheek pieces there, and a head piece, and of course the nose was my own, and still is. And then they worked on the neck. So this was this. They needed to move fast. The whole of Revenge of the Sith was shot in 60 days, not a minute more, which is why we worked so hard on that Friday.
It is amazing.
Amazingly enough, it was.
I love this. Yeah. Those contacts.
That was it. Sorry.
The contacts are those.
Yes, they were fine then, but they had, you have to take them out every now and again because the eyes become painful. But the first ones that the actor couldn't take, and hence I got the part, lucky me, were made of glass. And amazingly enough, the guy who put them in was called Richard Glass. I thought this can't be true, but it was, and he would be on standby the whole time. And they were just more scratchy than the more recent plastic ones. But of course, get any dust in there, and you're in trouble.
Yeah, and how do you keep the hood on? Do they tape that hood on the head there?
No, amazingly enough, it sort of sticks. I mean, in order that it looked as if it was free falling, we didn't stick it.
Really?
And by and large, people would come and adjust it all the time. But sitting on this chair here also reminds me of something, James.
Yes.
You'd think that the chair was mechanized, maybe nowadays digitized, and it was mechanized to begin with in Return of the Jedi, but it kept not hitting its mark. So it would go there.
Do a little Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
Yes.
George would want me there. So I said, well, I can do it with my feet. So I did. And that was a tradition that continued right through to Revenge of the Sith. So when you're watching, I hope, a very dignified emperor slowly come round to stare at,
Little toes going.
an enemy around that. Yeah. I was going like this underneath.
Somebody's gonna have to fix this chair.
It's true.
The Emperor's just. I can't just get a chair that works that swings me around dramatically.
Okay, I'll do it.
So, we have our tea, and we have this wonderful stage, and you are a wonderful performer. I thought we should go inside the Akbar studio. What do you say? Should we go inside the Akbar studio? I think so. Now this is a bit where we ask you some very specific. It's a trap! Oh, it's a trap! It's a trap! Don't do it! We're going to take you inside the Akbar studio, much like inside the actor's studio.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay, I don't quite know what the context is, but here we go. Oh yes, I'll read the stage direction just before. It says, Emperor Palpatine strikes Luke Skywalker with lightning that flows through his hands. Luke falls, Darth Vader rises. Then Luke says, oh agony, as well he might. Mark should be here to do that.
Yeah.
But he's in the building somewhere. Okay, here we go. Young fool, 'tis only now in this thy final living moment thou dost comprehend thy folly and my might. Thy feeble skills are nothing when compared to all the power of the dark side. Thou dost pay the rightful price for thy severe and utter lack of vision. Aye, thy debt is due, and I am both thy creditor and thy collector. What thou hast not repaid with thy belief, I shall exact from thine own flesh. And know what joy it brings to charge thee thus, my payment justly earned, to wound thee, hurt thee, break thee, and at the last, to bring thee to the death that I am owed. You did it well. And then of course, the lightning. Still mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on. Was that fantastic? I had the best seat in the house because the lights were, it was beautiful, and that was so great. The second you do that voice, there is a strange power and hum in the room. Did y'all feel that energy? Yeah. We all went, it's him. Oh no. Thank you for indulging.
It's a pleasure. It's interesting to do it, I know with a microphone here, a very powerful one, but it's interesting to do it live, as it were, to an audience, rather than, because I wouldn't have done it like that in a million years in a movie. It would be much quieter and much more intimate.
And what do you think of that? That's a pretty good translation.
I think it is good, yes,
Yeah.
I think it's done very well.
Very well
The verse is
indeed.
good, and every now and again you get a sneaky little rhyme, which is good.
That is wonderful. Well, would you mind if you indulge us now and take some questions from the council here?
I'd be happy to.
And now, questions from the council.
All right. Mark, Daniel, DJ Elliot, you guys are out there somewhere. I see Elliot right over here, and he has a question.
Yes, sir.
Who do you got there, Elliot?
What's your name, sir?
Pete.
And where are you from?
Florida.
All right, what's your question?
Florida. When you told Anakin that you had the power to keep people alive, was there any chance that taking Padme's life to keep Anakin alive, was that part of the thought processes with George Lucas?
I think he wanted it to be a real dilemma for Anakin. It wasn't just, he had a weakness in his character and a difficult upbringing in history that made him susceptible to my awful enticements. Padme was a big force in his life. And the notion that he might be able to save her from harm and maybe eventually settle down with her and be married properly and indeed bring up the kids was a powerful one. And George wanted, and I think he came to that later, he wanted to add that into the whole Vader mix so that his journey would be seen as what it is really, a kind of tragedy.
It is. Great tragedy. Great question. Yes, thank you so much. And where is Mark?
Over here. When he started doing the Emperor, I ran where there's no windows.
Where are you, Mark?
I'm over here. Way over here. You see me?
Oh, I see you now.
Yes.
He's up over here,
Oh, yes,
everybody.
yes.
You see him?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm over here with, he's Kevin from New York. Kevin from New York, what's your question?
Thank you.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
It might be a silly question, but have you had the opportunity to see any of the robot chicken Star Wars? And the spoof that they do on the Emperor and his frustration with Vader is hysterical, and I just want to know if you had gotten to see that.
I have. I saw some clips of it when I was.
You know what? I think I can help you out. Do we have something we can play? Okay, this is a little bit of an alley.
Don't be mad, Alfonso. I haven't had time to get it cut and my hair is... Wow! Don't worry! We will have you looking perfect, sir! Look at you! You look crazy! I know, I'm crazy. Well, let's get started. And how is the Empire coming along? Last time you were very excited about your Death Star.
Let's just say we're already building another one.
Uh-oh!
Yeah, I've got Vader on it. Well, just saying his name stresses my ass.
Uh-oh!
Yeah. You lost them?
Uh-oh.
I can't hold your hand anymore, Vader. A hand I gave you, I might add. No, shut up!
Oh!
I can put you on hold. I just want to throw myself in a hot bath and cry.
Oh, no!
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that before. That's clearly the way to play it.
I love the hair, right?
Yeah, the hair is great.
Oh, okay. Elliot, are you out there?
Yes, I have Lowell from Orange.
Okay, Lowell, what you got?
You want this, don't you?
I just wanted to say you're one of my favorite characters in all the Star Wars movies, and you're dead, even though a dark man you are, an evil man you are, a great actor you are. So anyways, in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin was, okay, so Emperor Palpatine told Anakin that if he turned to the dark side, he could save his wife Padme from dying.
In case you didn't know this, I don't know if you knew this.
But Padme dies because she lost the will to live. But there's a theory going on that the Emperor killed Padme using the Force, and that's, to make Anakin even more evil, make him more angry. Like when Darth Vader shouts, "No!" The Emperor's smiling in the back, like, "Yes, I got this."
So was that part of the plan, you think, with the Emperor?
I don't know, and I think if George were here, he might say the same thing. But one of the things about these films, and about any good actually story or dramatic entertainment, is that it leaves many questions open. Not too many, so you get irritated, because you want some reward for your concentration and so on. But I think that's one of the ones that he might have left open, and of course the whole way that he was born, Vader, Anakin, is questionable. We get lots of chat about midichlorians, which are again in the news, I see. But George would not be pressed on that. But I suppose, without being blasphemous, it is possible for a woman to conceive of a child without necessarily having a relationship with a man. And we know, of course, that's fortunately possible for a lot of people who are these days not able to conceive. So these kind of complicated questions are in the air. But if George were here, he wouldn't be answering any of them.
He would have none of that. Yes, the midichlorians were so powerful, they created the being within themselves. I know that's one of the other ones as well. Okay, so let's see. We got Mark right over there. What do you got, Mark?
I have Tom from Nebraska.
Tom! Come on, stand up, Tom. Ask your question here.
Yes. One of the greatest Legends book is Darth Plagueis. I was wondering how much direction from George you got on what your master was, and did that play a part? And if you've read the novel, is that who you envisioned?
Yeah, I have looked at the novels, and George gave me no help whatsoever. That was all part of that Friday. Hayden and I didn't even get to do the lines. It was so fast. But as I say, it ended up all right. And the side of when the camera was on Hayden, that was the following Monday, because it finally had to call a halt because Anthony Daniels was getting very impatient with his campaign.
I think if I remember correctly, Anthony kind of came in and crashed our interview last time.
Very rude, yes. We haven't spoken since.
I will be interviewing him here tomorrow.
Okay.
So if you happen to be wandering the halls looking for something to do,
I can come in and
get some revenge.
And disrupt.
And that would be fun, yes. Ask a question, right? Yeah, I think fair game, yes. Elliot, where are you, Elliot?
Still same spot. I have Joshua from Pasadena.
All right.
Hi. So, this is a bit of a different question. I met James this morning with the people who are overnight. And so I want to ask Ian, even though the book is his, since you play a more powerful character, can I have that book? The one that you read?
He just wants the book.
No.
No. That's my book. Oh, hey, you know what else I got? I don't know if we can see this. I don't think you've seen this. You're on my shoes. Now, I got an artist, Joe Hogan, very talented artist. And Joe Hogan painted these, and so I have two different versions of the Emperor on my shoes.
That's extraordinary.
I don't know if we can, maybe we can get on. And so, here's where being the host has its privileges. Could I possibly ask you to...
He wants me to sign his shoe.
Sign my shoe?
I'm not signing the inside.
Oh. So, what about right there? Okay. What do you think? Is this the most awkward?
You're asking me to kneel and shine
No,
your inside.
no, I would never.
Shine your shoes.
I would never do that.
No.
Here,
Oh,
I'll put it right here.
Well, in that case, I'll have to put the microphone down.
Here,
so this is going to be a silent signing.
And here's a shot for you all right now. How's it go? Here you go, sir. What a champ. See, the Emperor. Oh, he's got quite good penmanship. I've hosted these events so often. Oh, you want the other? Oh, point. He's going to offer.
What's the other
what
one?
Am I going to say? What am I going to say? And this one, Palpatine on one, And you know, this is, wow. Well, you're writing a little message. He's putting, okay, the Emperor. Look at this. He's like, and under his breath, he's like, James, never again. Again. That was, wasn't that?
See, because I play such an unpleasant swine, I feel I have to overcompensate by being too nice every now and again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Emperor. All right, 2 more questions we have time for. Where is Mark? Up there. Okay, Mark.
I'm up here with Brian. Brian, what's your question?
Hi, Ian, I just want to say thank you for being here. This is incredible. I'm here with my son. It's our first time at a celebration. This is the highlight so far.
Thank you. Great to be here. I've never been to this area before. Amazingly enough, I've never been to Los Angeles. All of these movies were shot elsewhere, so I needed an excuse, and this is a very nice one.
Great. So my question is, since you filmed Jedi before the prequels, obviously, your character had kind of a Dorian Gray experience. Can you tell us a story as an actor, how that worked out for you?
Well, it was, I played people older than myself before, as I told you, playing that Howard Hughes character from Sam Shepard's play, which incidentally, it has come into my mind, was called Seduced.
Wow.
So I've been used to sort of, aging myself. But there I was, 37 or 38, playing, and I said, by the way, George, how old is this guy? He went, I don't know, about 120. That was really helpful, so I immediately researched 120-year-old people, and that didn't go too well. But I was 37 playing 120, and I thought, well, that's the end of it. I've been confined to galactic hell, where I remain, yes, no question. And then, of course, I got almost a repeat of the nose call many years later. But the casting director phoned me up and said, George is in town, he'd like to say hello, okay? So I went along to the hotel that George was staying, and it was great to see him. I hadn't seen him since that last day when I was confined to hell. And so it was touching. He said, no, you were confined to hell. You're still there, don't worry. But we're going back in time. And so it'd be very interesting to see how Palpatine, dissolved into that terrible creature. And he said, okay, I'm sorry, I'll be rude. What would you like to drink? I said, well, I'll have water, okay. So I had the water, and then he said, I just have one question, okay? I thought this would be testing. He said, do you know anyone who wants to play an emperor? I said, I think I do, and he said, okay, you can give the water back. And that was the end of that interview. But he didn't tell me that I was Darth Sidious. Why would he? He talked about this other character who I thought, that sounds much more interesting than Senator Palpatine. But it wasn't until I got the script, and I had promised, against my life that I wouldn't tell anybody, that I realized there was 2 people. And quite a few people on the set didn't know either. Liam Neeson was furious at the premiere in London. He said, you didn't tell me you were that guy. You didn't tell me you were that guy, Ian. I said, I'm sorry, I wasn't allowed to, but I don't think he's ever forgiven me.
No, and Jake Lloyd, I remember we talked to Jake Lloyd at Star Wars Weekends, and he said, oh, I loved Ian, he was so nice, he was such a nice guy. And then he found out, and he was like afraid of you.
He's been very strange with me ever since.
He was, because he was a young boy at that time. He felt betrayed by this character.
Yeah.
So, oh man. Well, and so as an actor though, that's a great challenge and a lot of fun, I would imagine.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I sort of interrupted myself. And it was fascinating to go back in time. And by this time, which is also why I got the part, I think he thought I'd done all right with the Emperor. But ordinarily in these situations, you'd cast a younger actor. But because he'd already cast an actor who was too young, but okay, we hope, to play the old guy, I was exactly the right age then.
Yeah.
In fact, slightly older, I think. To play Palpatine and then to grow, as it were, into the movie. So I got lucky twice.
I think we got lucky. We have time for one last question. Elliot, who do you have?
This is Daniel from Valencia.
Thank
you. It's an honor to be able to ask you this question, sir. I'm an admirer of your work. I just wanted to ask you, what is the most impactful experience you have had as a part of your whole association with Star Wars from 1983 till today?
It's hard to say because it's it's true of everyone who's in Star Wars, I think. I guess it wasn't for Carrie and Mark in the early days because they didn't know, they knew what they were in, but of course they had no idea what it was going to become. And when you're invited to be part of this extraordinary series of films, which started so much and went further and further as digital technology allowed it to go, that in itself is an amazing experience. And it sounds a little bit naive, but I still can't quite believe that I was the person who went through it all. And at the time I was doing 1 and 2, I was also running a theatre. So I would, I took a little break, but it coincided with my break to do Clones. And episode 1 of Phantom Menace I did up the road, while working in the evenings on stage. So it was a very, in some ways, a straightforward way of living your life. And in other ways, it was stratospherically different.
Wonderful, and it's been wonderful, hasn't it? Experiencing this character with this genius actor. Sir, I don't know if you remember, but the last time we wrapped up the show with a thing we call a phony photo memory. And we had you...
It's a Star Wars phony photo memory.
Phony photo memory. I don't know if you remember. So you get lots of pictures of us just talking, so we came up with one, and you were shocking me, and I was all... And then people took it and photoshopped it. Look at what happened there. That was the last time we were on stage together.
I'm sorry about that, but you're looking very well.
I'm doing okay now.
Yeah, because the operation was successful.
So I don't know how we one-up that, but maybe we can do the little thing I like to do with Warwick Davis. We'll do some Vadering. So you stand, and you all, this is timing, okay? So what you're going to do is you can just do an Emperor, just a simple, because...
Can I do it with one hand?
Just one hand, just one hand.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump.
Oh.
And when I jump, I'll count to 3. You all snap your pictures, and then you'll get me in the air as though the Emperor is just trashing.
Lifting you.
Right? Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Do one more. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Did you get it? One more? Okay. 3, 2, 1. It's better. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, please, Ian